But anyway, the architect is the team leader in the design phase, and the architect is the one that coordinates all the sub-consultants. Then when you get to the next phase, which cannot happen until the architect processes all of the documents from all of the sub-consultants and the architect's production, all that gets processed through government for permitting. We know that process, and we've been doing that process for 40 years, and we can assist you in selecting the proper place to build the dream that you want that will more easily go through the system. So you want to, if you want to do a commercial structure, you want to make sure you pick a property that's in the proper zoned area. Same with a residential property. You want to make sure you're complying with all the government rules. And everything you're presenting and asking them to approve basically follows their laws and ordinances and guidelines, then you're more apt to, with ease, be approved through the governmental process. So, and the process itself is objective in that manner because you're following the rules. The government is made up of elected officials, but they, once they're elected, hire professionals, architects and planners and others, to work in their planning departments. So the planning staff becomes their hired experts. Those hired experts are people we went to school with, and we know them, and we work with them every day, and we've got long-term relationships that we've developed with them. So we can communicate to them very easily. We talk the same language. And we all work together to try to come up with projects that fit the rules that have been passed by the government. And then when it gets to the point where you've now got a recommendation from the government's hired staff, and you go before the government people for approval, it's pretty hard for the government people to turn things down because their professionals have recommended it. Once that permit is granted, then you can build the project. But you have to build it exactly the way the plans say for a whole bunch of reasons legally. So once you go through that process successfully, and the process is broken into two parts. First, you have a land use approval. That's one permit that almost every project, all commercial projects need that. And there's various levels of land use approval depending on the scale and size of the project. Nowadays in California, most of the residential ones also have a land use permit requirement. So once you get your land use permit approved, which is more the planning aspects, are you in the right zone, are you the right height, are you the right setback, is what you're proposing, you know, working with community character, is the design meeting our design guidelines and criteria, they're going to look kind of the way we hope it would look, and okay, does it meet the guidelines from the state of California? CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, is a big part of the land use process. The local municipalities have the authority to process, but they're processing everything in conjunction with state review to make sure it complies with the laws of the state. Get along the edges of the ocean, now you're in the coastal zone, you've got another layer that you must comply with the Coastal Commission's regulations also. Once you go through that land use process, which can be appealed by any number of people, and you successfully get your approvals through appeal, and you finally get a land use permit, then typically you can start doing the working documents or the blueprint production of the design process. So you go through and you get all of that done, the working documents part, and then you get a building permit. And once you get the building permit, then you can retain your general contractor and start to actually construct the project. And periodically through the construction, the building department will come out and make inspections, and that's the idea, the goal of the planning department is to verify that everything being constructed meets the intent of the plans prepared by the architect.